Marketing. Now I'm going to beat marketing up a bit. I can do that. I've earned the right because I spent so much time doing it. And it's not until we're honest with the state of our disciplines can we move beyond, okay? So I think today marketing is boring, generally. It's the same old product stuff. It's priced. I mean, look at the papers. You know, 25% off this, and blah, 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 that, and blah. I mean, come on, there's no imagination. It's lazy. Marketing guys are getting lazy. Why is that? Well, it's easier to compete on price. It's a heck of a lot easier to figure out what your only statement is and create value-based packages of happiness and experiences. That takes a little more work. We're going to get that in a minute. So it's not very exciting. I said earlier, this whole issue of undifferentiation really kills me. I mean, like, there's a proliferation of sameness going on out there that's very, very disturbing. It's disturbing to me as just kind of like a practitioner. It should be disturbing to businesses because they don't recognize it. And it's really disturbing to customers because they can't tell the difference of the herd. The herd's the same, it's a blur. Do we really believe that an average customer actually exists out there? Well, seriously? I mean, if anybody does, we really haven't looked closely enough, and we really haven't asked enough questions. And the reason this is so important is the source of marketing power today is the ability to identify small clusters of raving maniac fans that you can take care of better than anybody else. Not the mass market. The mass market exists for people that actually hallucinate that average customers exist. So what they do is they create products and services for the masses. And to the extent that some individual out there actually has the characteristics of the average person, they may make a sale. But there's a lot more people out there that don't fit that criteria and they don't make a sale. And yet, mass markets, continuing. Well, just look at advertising. I mean, it's all about the belief that mass markets really exist. Round the corners focus, trying to satisfy everything. All people, all things to all people. Techno-adulation. You know, the power's in the technology, not in what it can do uniquely for people. Wow, look at this app. It's cool, it can do this and this and this and this and this. And that's important, but the next step is probably more important. How are we going to express that in a unique way to our fans that will make them love us and tell every one of their friends? Because that whole community and communication is important. And value blur. It's really, really hard. So I know I'm being a little critical of this, but you have to be. You can't assume that this discipline is working, because it's not. Through my eyes as a customer and who knows it a bit. So what's the solution? Well, the whole notion of distinguishing and domination is really simple. It says you got to identify and focus on your fans. Like, there's a real mystique going on about, wow, should I invest in my existing customers or should I go out and acquire new customers? You ever heard that conversation? Well, it's more sexy to go get new guys because that's a source of growth. I mean, how myopic is that? That presumes that the loyal fans that you have zero growth potential. And if they're fans of yours and you're not seeing the growth potential, you're not looking close enough. You're not doing the right stuff. So very simply, get at your fans. These are people that care about you and what you do. Right? And so the idea is to first of all identify who they are, and as Seth would say, find the sneezers. I love this. Now the metaphor is wonderful. The sneezer, we all know, you have a mental image of what the sneezer does, right? So when they love you and what you do, think about sneezing when they talk to other people about you. Some fans don't sneeze. What you want to do is get the sneezers, because they're out there talking. And normally, Gladwell in Tipping Point, I don't know if you ever read Tipping Point, not a bad book. He talks about the same thing, he just calls them mavens. The idea is that they have social power. They have power in the marketplace. And those are the people that we need to get to. Shed mass market thinking, the average customer doesn't exist. Segmentation now should be looking at small is good, smaller is better. So it's not a matter of segmenting your market in terms of 3 or 4 clusters. Segment them into 1,000 clusters. 1,000 clusters. Why is that? Because every time you segment, you get closer to the individual. And with the knowledge and power of understanding the individual, you now have the ability to market in a way that nobody else does. Why? Because they're still busy screwing around with mass markets. Smaller the group, the more you know. The more relevant you can become in the smaller the group. Now here's a little formula for us. Relevancy to the individual is inversely related to the size of the group. If you want to be relevant, you've got to look at the size of the group. Now, going back to the tipping point, really interesting. Rule of 150. There's actually a science behind the fact that a group of 150 is an optimum size of a group of people that are socially connected, talk to one another, communicate with one another on a constant basis, and share common goals and aspirations. Isn't that what a tribe is? 150. There are companies that actually predicate their operations and their culture around 150 because they know that once that organization or that operation gets beyond 150, it starts to lose some cohesiveness, et cetera, et cetera. Think about that from a marketing point of view. I mean, that's got to have amazing implications because what you want is you want a group of people that love you, know one another, care about one another, sneeze about you to one another. And so there's a lot of implications there. It ain't 1,000 people, guys. This person says 150. So what the hell? Try 150. And for the people that have got 10 million followers on Twitter and who actually believe they have 10,000 fans, ain't true. 150 of them maybe find out who they are and if they actually believe in you. Do you guys know your top 10 fans by name? Do you know which one are the sneezers? Figure out who your sneezers are, figure out a way to communicate with them, and a way that they can communicate, probably more importantly, how they can communicate with themselves. Because when they're talking to themselves, they're talking about you, they're spreading the word, and basically creating a word of mouth epidemic. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want an epidemic around you and what you do for your fans. And isn't that the source of growth? Seriously? I mean, that's investing in your existing customer base. It's not running out, trying to create new customers. Too many people talk about barriers to competitive entry. Well, I like to think about barriers to customer exit. And barriers to customer exit is all about investing in the people who care about you today. Talked a little bit about value creation. Want to nail this a little bit more? Value creation is not flogging products, okay? It ain't flogging products. It's about coming up with a value proposition targeted to those fans that we've identified that actually addresses a need that they have. Now the interesting thing is, and is generally packaged, okay? So when you think about value in this term, start thinking about packages of value. Now I'm not talking about, bundling a bunch of telecom components and then discounting it by 25%. That's not value marketing, that's price. Nothing but raw price. And it never works because everybody copies it. Okay? What I'm talking about is figuring out what the fans value from a holistic point of view, not just singularly, like for their lifestyle or their business. What do they value? And figuring out a way how to package solutions around that. It goes like this. Move away from creating products for mass markets to value packages for your fans. That's the shift that we need to make in marketing. And I'm not saying the product isn't important, but the product is a component. It's not in and of itself the value. And unfortunately, what's happening these days is products are flogged. One of the problems, one of the reasons RIM is in trouble is they continue to flog the smartphone. Completely different strategy than Apple. You might think they're flogging apps. Well, in my world, they're flogging individual solutions to lifestyle choices for the fans. Through 250,000 apps, it's a good strategy. They may not express it that way, but that's what they're doing. RIM, and I've been talking this way for a year. They continue to believe that technology will be their savior. and it simply will not be. Here's a couple of examples in terms of these value packages. And when you look at this, think about creating experiences, not stuff. People are happier when they have a delightful experience than they are when they get something tangible. They forget about the tangibility. It's harder for them to think about the experience. Why? Because the experience makes them happy. The iron doesn't. It's not the smartphone that makes somebody happy. It's what it does. So think experiences and think experiential marketing on a going forward basis. Here's a couple of examples. BC Ferries have this. Now, if you look at it, all they're doing is taking components around a base of customers called golfers, creating experience. And by the way, do you think that 310 is discounted? It's premium priced. They don't say, and all of this is going to come to you with a 25% discount over what you would pay if you bought it a la carte. Fairmont Whistler does the same thing, not going to spend any, but they actually see themselves in the experience business. And they charge premium prices by packaging things together. Like this one is kind of neat, I think, because they're offering money to their customers who hopefully will go out and experience something different in Whistler. And so in essence, they're funding new experiences for people. That's pretty cool. They're not flogging zip trekking. You know, they're not flogging kayaking. They're flogging an experience. So how do we create these value packages? Okay, I'm going to give you two kind of new concepts. One is it's not about market research. It's about customer learning. Market research is a periodic study that's done, obviously, from time to time. Customer learning is a core competency of the business that you'd never outsource, and you're always doing it. You're always doing it. You're always learning about what your fans are all about and what they want. And so you look upon that as a core competency of your world. And so the challenge is to figure out how to get that information. I'm not talking about, invasion of privacy. People love to talk. But you see, the problem is when we're so busy flogging stuff at them, we don't have time to ask them relevant questions. I'm not saying don't do market research, okay? What I am saying is don't believe it will solve all your problems about learning, because it won't. It'll give you a snapshot at a point in time. What you really want is you want to be online. It's almost like you want to take a syringe and shove it in, the vein of your sneezer, right? Hook up to it and learn from it as that person goes through their day and evening and week. It's getting that close. So what do we do? So the second aspect of this is what I call customer secrets. It's not about understanding customer needs. It's about discovering customer secrets. The things that they would not normally tell you because, you're asking about, their needs in a particular product line. These are things about them. It's not an invasion of privacy. It's about what people would talk about if we had the time to ask them questions. Key question for you, who do you tell your secrets to? Your friend, right? I mean, you don't tell them to everybody. The whole point here is to develop the kind of relationship with a customer to enable you, to give you the right to ask questions, to learn. And when you learn that Roy likes Italian wine, red, that he hates having his vehicle dirty when he arrives in Whistler, that he loves Italian food, and probably the odd martini. If you knew that, you are actually capable of creating an experience for me. And it doesn't matter what business you're in up there. You could be the root store and still create that experience for me if you knew it. And if you realized the importance of creating that package for me, right? Find out the secrets. Do you guys know the secrets of your top 2 customers? Have you asked? It's a sales issue. You know what? We spend so much time talking to people, we don't listen anymore. I get offended now when I get a sales rep telling me how great the product is. I just want to, say, whoa, it's not about you. It should be about me. Where is the evidence that you actually care about the person that you're talking to? And why is it that you constantly want to impress me with what you know as opposed to taking the time and asking me questions about what I need?